I went to Ozark Christian College, was Ozark Bible College back then, and I ended up preaching for a little while, and then I went back as a teacher. David Haynes and I went to school together, and he was the first minister here at Calvary, came before me. But Dave Haynes and I knew each other through college, so I knew that he was here, but I had never been to the church. I was traveling with Impact Brass and Singers, and they had us come up here. And this is before they had a building. They were in a rented building, and there wasn't enough room for an audience. So they rented the Bellevue East Auditorium, and we did 3 big programs at Bellevue East that weekend. And I went back to class and just bragged about this new church plant and how well they were doing. And I was teaching at Ozark, and I don't know, when you're young, I just taught for several years, and then I wondered if I ought to be in a local ministry. I went and did a camp. I did camps in the summertime and all that. I did a camp in Eugene, Oregon for young married people and loved it, and they liked me. And so 6 months later, when their minister left, they asked me if I would be interested in coming. And so I said yes. And the first 2 years there were awesome, and we grew and did all kinds of neat things. And one night, a kid robbed the church and lit a fire and burnt it down. And so we had 2 years of heaven, and then it was almost like 2 years of hell. I was worn out, and I needed help. And Nofel Staten was a friend of mine who had taught at Ozark, and he came out and did a revival for me and stayed at my house, and he counseled me, and he said, I've got a job for you. And I thought, that sounds good. So they flew me back here, my wife and I, and we preached and we did Sunday school and all that. It was very friendly. The people were outgoing. They welcomed me. It was ready to grow, and I decided I wanted to be there more than I wanted to be in Oregon, and I'm so glad I made that decision. And I think we all thought, this is a good church, but surely God has bigger plans. And what do we need to do? They didn't feel like we wanted like this forever. They kind of let me know that this is the beginning. I was very intrigued when I first got here that there was a mixture of military. And I found that they were very open to the gospel. And I really loved working with military because they did things in an orderly way, and they wanted to get things done and all like that. And I really enjoyed that. And then I enjoyed working with just average people on the street as well. I got to meet some people, and I was very proud of your serving the country and all of that kind of thing. And I got close to some of them, and then 6 months later, they'd say, well, I got orders, we're leaving. You can't leave, we need you here. And then they'd move to another town. They said, well, I got involved in this new church, and they made me an elder. Now what do I do? So they were right now asking for advice on how to do things. And I began to think, you know, this is a way God spreads the church. And they grew here, and now they're in a position of leadership. And so we get them for a while, we train them, and then God sends them out. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the way it ought to be. And the longer I was here, the more people were like that. We have people all over the country who grew here, who accepted more responsibility, got closer. We did Bible studies together and all that kind of thing. God knew what he was doing, and scattering. And so Calvary has been a place where people are trained, where they learn, and where God quite often scatters them. My dad came up and was working with me in my yard, and he says, you've got the hardiest dandelions I've ever seen in my life. And it was funny, but it wasn't fun. All of a sudden it hit me one day, you know what, dandelions are a lot like what our church members are. They grow up, they bloom, they seed, and they're just beautiful, and then all of a sudden, God blows, and they go somewhere else. And I started thinking about that, and I said, you know, we are made to spread over all the earth, And so we need to think of ourselves as growing and maturing, and then God blows us somewhere else and we grow there, and we're here to take over the whole world. And so I started talking about that some in sermons, and they'd move and then they'd send me pictures of dandelions in their yard, and I'm one of your dandelions here, and here's a dandelion in my yard. God's sending us into all the world, and that's what the Bible tells us about. So it changed my thinking totally from, I just want to build a big church here, to let's take the world. My whole concept of success in ministry changed. It's not how big can I make Calvary, it's let's win the world. Praise the Lord.